Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have the scariest, the scariest story on Reddit. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
I mean, you tried.
We're covering a Reddit no-sleep story called "I Was a Superhero for an Hour. It Was a Terrible Experience." So this story is on Reddit no sleep, like I said. It's by WeirdBryceGuy. And I'll just dive into the rundown. Nair, because we never get a name. I guess it's Weird Guy Bryce or Weird Bryce Guy. Weird Bryce, the narrator guy. I don't know.
Weird.
So Nair is recounting the time he was given superpowers by an honest-to-God superhero, and then it was taken away. Finn! No, that's not the end of the rundown. Just like my first line, my first line perfectly encapsulates though the plot of this story, which is basically also the title of the story perfectly encapsulates the plot of this story.
It really does.
Yeah. Yeah, he was grabbing a coffee in town when he saw a weird guy in leather armor, silver gauntlets, and cape. Curious, he approached and listened to the guy's spiel, thinking he was some kind of like salesman or something, like trying to sell him something. Nair agreed to take on the powers of this weary, age-old superhero on a lark, because again, he didn't really believe that this was actually happening. But then after an unceremonious knighting and a complete disrobing of the outfit, to which the superhero was completely naked underneath his suit until he went and put on some regular clothes that was on a duffel bag next to him. The guy left Nair with the outfit in a pile. The outfit called to Nair, and he took it home, eventually putting it on and realizing it fit him, and he now indeed had superpowers as a result. Unfortunately, while trying out some levitation in his backyard, a superheroine with a similar outfit arrived from the sky and told Nair to surrender the suit and powers back to the previous guy or die. Apparently, this super guy tires of being a superhero every decade or so, and just wants to go on a regular vacation. But he's not allowed to because of all his responsibilities. So she always ends up having to find the schmuck that has ended up with the suit and kill them because they refuse to give back the powers and suit. She enforces this rather quickly after explaining the situation by laser eye bisecting Nair in half and pinning his upper half to the ground. In terrible sanity-wrenching pain, Nair agrees to surrender the suit after he regenerates his lower half, of course. And the superheroine leaves with the suit. Though not before lasering the old lower half of Nair, which is just lying there on the ground in his backyard, into ash. And once again, causing a sanity-wrenching reaction to Nair. He just kind of lays there on the ground after the laser blast hits his lower half, his separated lower half, I'll add. And he crawls over to his kitchen and just kind of cries into a sleep state that is full of nightmares of horrible laser giants. So that's about the gist of the story. The moral of this story, according to Nair, fuck superheroes. And that is Finn for the tail. So, yeah, that's it.
Yep.
I suppose I'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisition at this point. I've got a couple. So, start with this one here. I'm not usually one to accept dubious offers of self-improvement, random men dressed in capes on the street, but I'm also not one to pass up a conversation with someone dressed in a cape. So I think from is missing there. So it's like, I'm not one to accept dubious offers of self-improvement from random men dressed in capes. So just missing that one word.
Also, are you going to continue with more or no?
Not on that sentence, but
Okay. I also feel it's unnecessary that it's repeating that he's dressed in a cape.
I hear you. It sort of matches the style of writing this author does throughout the story, but maybe that's also a
the
problem.
First line. How could you
I know.
that by now?
No. I mean, like, I'm saying that like after reading the entire story. Like it seems fine to me, but because again, I don't read the story. I don't like judge the story as standalone, like as it goes. I judge it after I've read the story.
Either way, my rewrite just seems cleaner.
Okay.
It's this. I'm not usually one to accept dubious offers of self-improvement, but I'm also not one to pass up conversation with someone on the street dressed in a cape.
Sure, that works too.
Seems
cleaner. Actually, I'm gonna fight you on this one. I'm sorry, because the whole point is like is that he doesn't usually accept dubious offers from people like that are dressed funny. Like that's the whole premise of like why he's bringing up the dressed in a cape is because like on a street is because this guy's dressed funny and like talking and seems to be talking about some self-improvement thing, which is what our narrator is assuming at this point.
But if you just drop the weird capeness at the end, it hits better. And instead of hitting twice uselessly as well.
I suppose.
Again, it's my opinion.
Yeah.
Agree
no,
to
for
disagree.
sure. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
What happened? What?
Nothing. We'll see if that picks up on recording.
Yeah. I don't. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Jackass.
You right over there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not COVID, I swear. I had gone out to grab a cup of coffee and was walking from the grocery store where the coffee shop is back home when I saw a man dressed in a dark leather outfit with a flowing sliver cape, silver gauntlets, and you guessed it, silver pauldrons.
It does
say
sliver.
Yes. Hang on. So first off, a tad run on.
Yeah.
Secondly, that guy might want to watch out because this guy's superpower is a sliver cape.
Yep.
He just waves it a swath and strikes foes with a barrage of small wooden pane.
Oh god, I would hate that.
Right? That would suck.
It's like you can't remove it easily. It's like
oh god, it's slowly digging deeper into your body because that's how fucking slivers work. Or is that quills? I think that's quills. Like
basically the same thing.
Yeah. Or it's just a typo and it's supposed to say a silver cape. But like I literally just envisioned this like this cape, which is like almost like a wood splint like in design, except it's just super small. So it's almost like a feathery cape, but when you look close enough, it's not feathers. It's just slivers of wood.
Oh.
Or it's like a furred cape, but the fur is actually wooden splinters.
Yeah.
And it has like that weird like cool like actually the more I think about this, the more this actually I want this in a game or something or in a comic where it's like because the way it moves, like the way it drapes around and moves like around the character, it like gives off this like really cool like hollow wooden sound of like that's like almost like constantly like pattering against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like the guy has like a recognizable branded like or like an iconic sound to him as he approaches. Yeah. It's like, oh no, it's Sliver Cape.
Imagine,
Sliver Cape
like,
also sounds like a creepypasta icon.
It does, yeah. Also, just because you said like you would potentially attack with it, I'm having like flashbacks to like Mario 3, the cape.
Yes.
Wait, is it Mario 3 he gets the cape, or is that later on?
I think it's Mario
Mario
3.
World.
Oh, is it Mario World? Yeah, you're
'Cause
right. It's Mario
It's
World.
the tail first that he flies with for some reason, and then he gets a
Yeah.
cape.
Mhm.
Smash
Yeah.
Brothers cape. There you go.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do you have
And-
something to add, Mike? Or Mikey?
Yeah. There's also one other option which you haven't thought of, is that this actually takes place in the Magic the Gathering universe, because
Oh God!
Sliver is a creature type.
yeah, it's this horrible fucking like OP creature type.
So he has a creature as a cape.
No, you know what
No.
I'm thinking now? It's like that mink coat from Ghostbusters that like comes alive, but it's just slivers. Yeah, do you want to describe what a sliver is there, Mikey, for the uninitiated?
Well, they're creatures that have sort of talons as arms, and their head is also sort of shaped like said talon. I don't.
They're
It's hard
kind of yeah.
to.
It is the best. You know the Zerglings, like the Hydralisks
Yeah.
from StarCraft.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
that, except more knifey.
Okay.
Like even more knifey than the Hydralisk from StarCraft. Like just anybody listening who doesn't know what a sliver is from Magic the Gathering, just Google them. They're They would be terrifying to look at if an entire cape was made of like living versions of those.
Doing so right
But
now.
yeah. Also, I had to point this out. Why would we have to guess that he had silver pauldrons? Like, and you guessed it, silver pauldrons. I was like,
Because everything that he's listing so far is silver, so it's jokey.
I suppose, yeah, and that is sort of like a run-on thing of the story, is that the guy's kind of has these quips off and on throughout the story.
Yeah.
And my next one here.
Before you do that,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish again. Again, the thing in the middle I feel is unnecessary again. Like him mentioning that the whole grocery store is where the coffee shop is. Like, why bother?
Yeah, like
Him being near the grocery store, or hell, even him coming from the coffee shop, has nothing to do with the story.
well, it's
So it's
setting
just
up the scene, but yeah, I get what you're going for, because like I kind of hit like I remember reading this the first time and I was like I kind of like stumbled over it, but like it is setting up the scene. It's like I was out grabbing a cup of coffee from the local grocery store when I saw the man. Like that's all you need. You don't need where the coffee shop is at the grocery store and then back home. You
The
can
whole
get rid of that
coffee
part.
shop and grocery store is completely unnecessary. My rewrite: I had gone out to grab a cup of coffee and was walking back home when I saw a man dressed in a dark leather outfit with a flowing sliver cape, sliver gauntlets, and you guessed it, sliver pauldrons. I said those as sliver intentionally.
Okay. Also, then your rewrite, I apologize for like
Biting my head off twice in a row.
yeah, for your head, because I actually agree with you on this one. Yeah, because like all you need to say is that he was out grabbing a coffee. That's all you need for the
Yeah.
setup. We don't need to know where it was, or like, because like I thought it was weird. It's like walking from the grocery store, and then like there's that like kind of break to like show that like he's kind of as an aside where the coffee shop is back home. It's like, why did you need to specify that the coffee shop is in the grocery store? Why don't you just say that you're picking up a cup of coffee from the grocery store? That's all you need.
Yeah,
or what
my,
you
my
said.
opinion is you don't even have to say where you got it because he's not there
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, we can guess that you're getting the whole setup here is that you were out getting a cup of coffee when this happened. That's all we need.
All we need to know is you're walking somewhere with a cup of coffee and you run into this guy.
Yeah, and it's not even like he's being super specific of like what grocery store it is. It's just the grocery store. It's like it's not like I was at a Kmart or a Zeller, or I was coming back from the Zellers or Zayres, or some American brand grocery store, because I think those are strictly Canadian, the ones I mentioned.
Also, unless I missed you saying this, the sliver. Sorry, you got me accidentally saying it now. The silver mention of the pauldrons. It says Silver's pauldrons. It should just be silver pauldrons.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's a good grammar catch because that's and Silver's pauldrons.
Unless
great Silver's pauldrons.
Unless the superhero's name is Silver, then they are Silver's pauldrons. But then it would be possessive.
Yeah, and there's no markings to say that it's possessive, so therefore, it's probably just a typo.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Now you can move on, and I will be ready to correct you again.
Jump out. Yeah. Moving on here. Where am I? Who are you? Okay. I've always enjoyed being an audience to showmanship, regardless of whether or I actually intend to buy the product. I think you need, regardless of whether or not I actually intend to buy the product. You need that not there.
I apparently read over that one.
And then my next one here, and this one I'm going to have to actually add in the punctuation. Like I have to actually state the punctuation because that's the problem. But still, comma, the impulse to wear it persisted, comma, period. So I started putting it all on, period. So I think you need to remove the errant period right before so, because there's just a random period right before, like right between the comma and the word so.
I don't know if I caught that one.
Yeah,
it's
the
sneaky.
next one is also the same.
Yeah. That's my next one actually too, because there's so it's the next one. The next one is I kept my clothes on, comma, both to try and make the armor fit a bit better, comma, and because he'd been nude, comma, period, and I didn't want any of his ... sweaty, sweaty residuals touching my own bare skin. And again, ... rinse and repeat, because with the period, the errant periods that are in there. And this one actually has a double period or errant period, because there's a period between the comma and the and that doesn't need to be there. And then there's an extra period after the ... Like the ellipses is always 3 dots, not 4. We are just diving deep into the nitpicking of this grammar, but it's something that needs to be done. And my next one, and despite how it had before been way too big, upon putting it on, the set fit perfectly. Had during the process of equipping it, adjusted itself immaculately to my form. And I will say that I looked awesome. Okay, so aside from the front ands, I feel like some commas and additions of a few words could smooth this out a little bit. So this is how I kind of rewrote it. Despite how it had before been way too long, comma, upon putting it on the set... Upon putting it on, the set fit perfectly, period. During the process of equipping it, comma, the outfit had adjusted itself immaculately to my form, comma, and I will say that I looked awesome. Exclamation point.
Yeah, sounds all right.
Cool. And my next one here. I then spent nearly about 20 minutes testing my strength and found that I could lift some really heavy things, like the armoire I had inherited from my grandfather, my bed, the couch, all effortlessly. So, it's right at the very beginning of that sentence. You should probably only use nearly or about, not both of them. Like, I then spent nearly 20 minutes testing my strength, or I then spent about 20 minutes, not nearly about. It's just kind of doubling down.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
With that part too, I feel like it jumps too quick. Like there's no mention of his thought process being like, I wonder if I can lift shit. It's just like, I'm strong, and then immediately he's trying to lift stuff There isn't even like a second of thought in there, even though everything
Well, it seems like
is thought out.
Yeah, I don't. To me, it seemed like the superpowers, like he just inherently like gains the knowledge that like I have these powers now, like these kind of powers.
Yeah, but there's no acknowledgement of that really. And also,
True.
the huge, massive cut-in that's in here, because it's like dashed out. The entire dash in the middle of this sentence is the strength and capacity for great heroic feats. I then spent nearly 20 minutes testing my strength and found that I could lift some really heavy things, like the armoire I'd inherited from my grandfather, my bed, my couch. All of that is cut in the middle of this sentence, dashed out.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. Like so, this is the whole paragraph is like, yeah, it wasn't until I tried some action moves. Yeah, and then we have like that
Cut in longer than the normal sentence.
Yeah, cut in, and then it goes in like super strength and all that stuff, and then cut in all effortlessly. Additionally, I found that I could hold my breath indefinitely. Cut in, which I discovered while preparing to try and blow open my bedroom door. Cut in, and could just by thinking cause myself to levitate to the ground, because that was the one that caused me a hiccup. I remember while reading it was like, because I thought it was like we were still on like he was like, additionally I found that I could hold my breath, which I discovered, and I kind of ignoring the cut-ins, but now that I'm like thinking about it again, all these cut-ins are like really obstructing, because it's like so he's talking about like how he realized he could hold his breath indefinitely, which I discovered while preparing to try and blow open my door. And then, because I was partially ignoring the cut-in, I thought that the next thing it was gonna say, and could, in fact, because I did so. But then it goes to, and then just by thinking about it, I could levitate. So he's like talking about 3 different fucking powers, all in these weird cut-ins.
And the way that he talks about all this is almost like Yoda-like, because it's backwards.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Either way,
I kind of...
The previous... Because you went ahead 2 other sentences. With the sentence that I started commenting on, the rewrite I did of it is this. It wasn't until I tried some action moves that I felt the latent power, ellipses, the strength and capacity for great heroic feats, period. I had to see if this apparent power was real, so I spent nearly 20 minutes testing my strength, period. I found that I could lift really heavy things like the armoire I'd inherited from my grandfather, my bed, couch, ellipses, all effortlessly. Or maybe even don't need the last ellipses. Maybe just comma it out. But
yeah, comma would probably even work.
It just seems cleaner like that without all the weird dash work.
I'd also wouldn't hate if all his powers were like jotted down like in a bullet point, like so like
it's kind of
bullet
like
point.
Yeah, it's like when you're describing Superman. It's like he can leap over tall buildings in a single bound and fly through the air and laser eyes and.
Well, actually, like you said, okay, so like by definition, him being able to leap tall buildings in a single bound is his flying technically. Like he didn't. Superman didn't
leaping and flying.
Yeah, but you literally they're like leaping tall buildings in a single bound, flying. It's like like those are technically his same power because that's how he.
Not necessarily.
No, like legitimately, early Superman didn't fly. He just leaped over things really far.
Good for him. New one flies. It's a different thing.
Okay. Fuck you.
Fuck you too. Yes.
God damn it. I feel like that would probably clean up our problems with this story. Is it's just like jot it down.
Well, it could be said in sentences. It just has to be yet less Yoda-y.
Yeah. Can I go? Can I continue?
Never.
Damn it. Ass. God. They wore a blue mask, one that covered their entire face, with a pointed gold tiara affixed to the top. But after looking, you know what? I might not have a problem with this anymore. But I'm gonna continue on with this. But after looking around for a moment, they revealed themselves to be female with their voice, which they said, and it keeps going. So initially, my problem was like I feel like it should have said and, not but. But then I like reread the story this morning, and I realized it's like maybe there isn't a problem here because, like, basically, so the character, this person, the superheroine, arrives on the scene. She's like decked out in very similar outfit to the other superhero, except she's wearing like a blue mask that's covering her face, and she's got a tiara, and and then it says like, but after looking around and like saying like they revealed to be female by their voice. So I guess what the implication here is that like it really the voice is the only thing that gives away that like her identity, like her gender, I guess.
Yeah.
In the outfit, which I didn't grasp onto when I was first taking these notes. So, all this to say, my issue here has been resolved without me having to say anything, but I'm saying things because it's what I do.
Cool.
Move on.
Padding.
padding. So I have to go out and find the person he dumped his powers on and kill them so that the abilities revert back to him. So I know it's dialogue, but again, I feel it should either be he gives the powers to or dumps the powers on. Not
dumps
the same.
His powers on.
Yeah, dump his powers on, or the person he gives his powers to. Like that's one or the other. Again,
I mean, he might.
Yeah, exactly. Or like
this, though.
Exactly. Or like even. Like sometimes I'll do like I'll have like a give / dumped his powers on, and like because like but like even then like again I know it's dialogue, but use one or the other. Also, yeah, I mentioned what it is. So, anyways, moving on. Next one. I then fell asleep on my kitchen floor, a period of non-rest, wherein I had the most terrible dreams of red-eye giants incinerating the world. So I'm picking this one because, like, when I was reading the story again, I was doing it through Google Docs, and it popped up that like there's a spelling error here with non-rest because it's NON-rest, and I think you could probably do away with that word and replace it with just unrest, a period of unrest where I had the most terrible dreams. So that is
yes.
Yeah, again, might be a nitpick. Just like because like non-rest, like even it just seemed kind of odd to me, but maybe it's because I was reading it with the squiggly line underneath it.
Oh, you're cheating, I see.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm using the tools of an editor, sir.
Hey, you said yes. You agreed with me.
Yes and no. Yes, but I am using the tools of an editor.
Yeah.
But I digress. That is actually the end of my grammar inquisition. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
Well, you did a fairly good job. So I have a conjunction junction.
All right. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
And to be honest, I've often wondered what society would be like if people were allowed to walk around wearing things like capes or top hats or long flowing scarves. But anyway, the moment my hands came in contact with the fabric and metal, I felt an almost irresistible urge to put them on, to don the cowl and cape. But even as I marveled at this, I told myself that there was no way I'd be able to fit in it. It was too large, several sizes beyond my own clothing, completely disproportionate to my rather ironing board-like frame. But still, the impulse to wear it persisted. So I started putting it all on, and I didn't want any of his. And despite how it had before been way too big, upon putting it on, the set fit perfectly. And I will say that I looked awesome. It was beyond movie quality, as if I'd come from some planet where people wore capes and armor all the time. It wasn't until I tried some action motions that I felt the latent power, the strength and capacity for great heroic feats. But that future was taken from me. As I've said, I was only a superhero for an hour. And that hour ended nightmarishly. But as the image resolved, I realized with wonder that it was a person, a human dressed somewhat similarly to myself. It wasn't the greeting I'd been expecting. No sense of heroic fellowship in their tone, but I said that I apparently was, and began excitedly recounting the story of my superpowered inheritance. So I pathetically wheezed out some approximation of "I give up," which she thankfully understood as such and not a challenge to fire away. Finn.
Yeah. Pretty standard. And story or conjunction junction.
And it pretty well sums up the story.
Yeah, no, 100%. Once again, thank you for the extra rundown. Gamer, you gonna pipe in?
It's fine.
I meant like, and the reason why Mikey does this.
Oh.
It's kind of your shtick most of the time.
Well, I mean, as of late, you've been stealing it from me.
I was waiting for you to do it. Jesus Christ.
It's fine. And the reason Mikey does this is to highlight all the sentences in a story that start with words they shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words.
Yeah. For the most part.
I see.
All right. And then I suppose that's up to Gamer now.
Okay. So, from a quick scroll throughout this entire story, after I've stumbled across a few of those cut-in sections with the dashes, there's just a lot of them. How do you guys feel about the formatting of the dashed in little extra bits of quips and information? Because I don't know how I feel about it.
I will say, I mean, this kind of goes into my actual thoughts a little bit more, but it does sort of break any attempt for this to be a serious thing. Or not a serious thing, but a spookier thing, because the quips sort of ruin that sometimes.
Now that I'm looking at them, they're not even really quips. It's just extra bits of information that can be just said normally. It's just they're highlighted for some reason. It's just odd.
Yeah, I'm looking at one specifically where's the start of this? Wow, this sentence is actually really long because of that. He asked if I was confident that I could handle the sheer weight of the responsibilities, to which I responded that I was, and without any kind of ceremony, that cut in, beyond a gesture that resembled being knighted, albeit with his hands and not a sword, another cut in or cut out, he decreed me the inheritor of his fantastic power, period. So yeah, you could legitimately remove. So I feel like in this one, you could cut it at to which I responded that I was, period. And then the next thing is without any kind of ceremony, beyond a gesture that resembled being knighted. Honestly, don't. Yeah, and then remove the next part, which is albeit with his hand and not a sword, because that's fine. He decreed me the inheritor of his fantastic powers. Period. So yeah, I'm with you. Most of these
I didn't ask you to find another grammar thing.
No, but
I missed actually.
Nice, but I'm with you on this. For the most part, anyway. These cut-ins are sort of maybe it's just how they've been taught to like format stories and stuff with like cut-ins or like with extra bits of detail and stuff. Because like usually some of this is I could see where these cut-ins where you'd put like brackets to like add in little bits of information. However, you don't want to do that a lot in a story because that ends up breaking up the story's momentum.
Whether it's
with
brackets or
fiddly
these
bits.
dashes, it's doing the same thing.
Yeah. But I mean, but what I'm saying is like you don't want to do this all the time, like which is what the story is doing.
Yeah, it's like almost every sentence.
Yeah, or at least once every paragraph.
Mhm. Well, regardless of that, I feel like most of these don't work, and here's another one that doesn't work in my opinion. Or actually, sorry, this one I wrote it. Sorry. So, generally speaking, I don't really like them, the little cut-ins. This one it kind of works on, but the way it's done is a little too short and to the point. Meanwhile, most of them are too long. Either way, here's a line. A bit disturbed, bracket, sorry, a bit disturbed, dash, by the nudity, dash, but otherwise harmlessly amused, comma, blah, 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 blah. This one's like really short and to the point, but it's almost too short, as I said.
Yeah.
And the way that I changed it is a bit disturbed, dash, rightfully so due to the nudity, dash, but otherwise harmlessly amused. Because for the most part, these cut-ins are, to me, they give the feel like he's giving extra thoughts, commentary on the sentence, not just putting out the normal amount of information like most of these are. Like if they're meant to be a cutout, they're meant to be a quip. So that makes it more quippy, you know?
Yeah, no, I get you. Like that's what I was trying to say earlier and apparently failing, was like the fact that he keeps doing like using these cut-ins or these like dashes to like add in little bits of information. It's almost like he's doing it too much and it's sort of losing the effect of when he actually when they're actually like quips or commentary.
Yeah.
Like some of them like you said are unnecessary because they're just information that would go into the story into the paragraph regularly. For details. So,
and this one here changes the format from all the dashes. This one here is feeling implicitly entitled to the armor. Bracket, he'd bequeath me his powers after all. End bracket, I picked up the whole bundle. Blah 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 blah. It's like one of the few bracketed things in here, even though everything else is dashed out.
Yeah, I'm looking at another one actually, just slightly above that one, where it's like I expect. What?
Oh, go ahead.
No, what?
If it's before it, go ahead. I missed it.
Okay. I expected him to then cut the figurative bullshit and break out the product. In bracket, he'd had a duffel bag with him. End bracket. But he instead disrobed to cape. Blah blah blah. And that goes on like that. He like was completely naked and he was putting armor in from the duffel bag. It's like that. Yeah, like. It's sort of getting back to what I said earlier, or what we've been saying, like on my section of Grammar Inquisition, where it was like, use one thing or the other, don't use both.
Yeah.
At least that's my problem with it. Is like, don't use brackets if you're going to use the dashes, or don't use the dashes if you're going to use the brackets.
In one way or another, don't use them too much because then they overstay their welcome.
Exactly. This isn't like a combo. Ironically, this isn't a video game combo thing where you're doing like multiple hits because like you're actually losing the impact of these that the effect that these things give off. The more you use it in a story.
Yeah.
It's like anti-cumulative.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then the last grammar one is the Hayflick limit and potential for cancerous cellular mutations simply do not apply to you. Period. Or start bracket, and no one ever chooses this, end bracket. You can forfeit your powers, dash, give them to me, and I'll leave you alone, alive, with only a bruised ego and a baby smooth new lower half, period. So, did she just actually say the cut-in? Like this, brackets.
Like, no, yeah, that one's. It was like that's been pointed out. It's like
this isn't like just Nair talking. This is her saying these words to him.
Yeah, I've got another thing about that actually in my actual thoughts regarding some of the dialogue in this and how it's sort of I guess I'll just go into it now because it's similar. The fact that like some of the writing of like the narration or like not like the dialogue, when it even especially when it's not the same person, like when it's another person talking to Nair, kind of just keeps sounding like Nair's writing to me.
Yes.
Like, here's the one that specifically. So when it's talking about like all the things that like the super guy wants to do when he's on normal on like regular person vacation, it's like beaches, spas, cooled alcoholic beverages, all that. I was like, and to like, my point when I first read this, like this might just be conjecture, but cooled alcoholic beverages, who says that aside from like somebody writing that in a story? Like who actually says cooled alcoholic beverages and not just like beaches, spas, beers, or drinks? Like I it just seemed really kind of like what's the word? It's like not stale. It just comes off really like
It's really specific when everything else is
awkward, I
very
guess?
like normal.
Yeah, it comes off kind of awkward. Like or like kind of like I am speaking like normally human. Like that kind of it comes off a little bit too formal, I suppose. Maybe that's the word. Because like compared to like because like the rest of the and because of that, it sort of just sounds like the writer's style
I hate to
that
say
he's been
this, but
using the
it
entire
sounds
story.
like you're fighting yourself because you just said
Am
that
I?
you just said that this sentence feels completely different than the rest of the story. Meanwhile, your whole problem is you said that this sentence feels exactly like the rest of the story, like this character doesn't have any character.
No. What I'm saying. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is some of the dialogue in this that are not narrators like dialogues, but like the other characters, they come off too much like the writer itself, like and just like the rest of the writing. Not they don't have any personality, I suppose. This is what I'm trying to get at. Like there's no separate personality. It's just all Nair all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm suddenly envisioning like the super guy Nair, the super gal Nair. It's just them.
Well, how
It's just
would
the
you
same
change
person.
that up? Make them speak like more proper or
just like try and like
more
create an
heroic
inflection or something.
or something?
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. Was like, and I thought it was what you were trying to bring up. Is it seems like the dialogue's a little too samey compared to like samey with regards to the rest of the story. The way it's being told.
No, I was specifically talking about the weird description to the alcohol, saying that everything else that she said in that line was said very bland and normal, the way that anyone would say it, like going to beaches and all that stuff. But then the alcohol is specifically described for some reason, which was weird. That's what I was trying to say.
And that's what I'm trying to get at, but apparently I'm just failing, so I'm just going to stop
We're going
talking.
in circles here.
Yeah.
And the base reason why it's cooled alcoholic beverages is because he has an infinite supply of warm alcoholic beverages that he can't cool because he's fighting crime.
Is that his super flaw? His weakness is he can never have cooled alcoholic beverages. They're all lukewarm.
Yeah, it's on the contract.
Yep.
Yeah. None of them can have cooled alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
They
must all have warm beers.
Yes.
No.
So back to what I was actually talking about.
Yes. Going back to what you're saying. Sorry.
The fact that she straight up said brackets somehow. The way I would just change that is just ellipses it out. Because then she'd be saying, or ellipses, no one ever chooses this, ellipses, you can forfeit your powers and I'll leave you alone alive. That also removes the dash after powers as well.
Yep. I agree.
That's the end of my grammar.
Okay. Then I suppose I will move on. Or we shall move on to actual thoughts. So this one here, his jet black hair obviously dyed, was slicked back, allowing an uncannily lustrous forehead to brilliantly reflect in the morning sunlight. And I was like, I read, why is this obviously dyed? Like, why is that obviously dyed? Like, black hair is super common as like a hair color. It's like, why?
I accidentally, I meant to bring that line up specifically for grammar before. I accidentally
Okay.
missed it. It was literally just because it's dashed out.
Yeah.
Being said, based on what you're saying, you can tell if someone has like obviously pure black hair, like natural black and dyed black are very different. Dyed black can be like pure, absolute darkest black of my soul black.
Yeah.
Where normal black hair doesn't go that black.
I suppose. I guess I really just need like his jet black hair, which was obviously dyed, was slicked back, and that's all I needed because like the way because it's isolated, obviously dyed. Like I immediately had like this like sarcastic like attitude or like snarky attitude in his narration because it was like so isolated. And I think it's also because like I think either before or after this I got the like it was like, and you guessed it, the silver pauldrons. Like his snark was kind of just flowing through, and I was like, why is this obviously like? Why would I guess this? Like I was just being confrontational to Nair, I guess, through the story.
Yeah.
And the way he like writes things, like he just seems like a hipster to me.
A little bit.
Getting a coffee from a grocery store. The goddamn hipster.
Is that a hipster?
I don't know. I'm just being stupid
for reasons.
Yeah, and I'll move on to the next thing. Actually, the next one's actually pretty accurate to that. If anything, the appearance was enthralling, and I found myself crossing the thankfully barren street before I even thought to before I even thought to consciously approach him. I'm just so this is my comment to this. I'm just imagining an alternate timeline where Nair goes across the street distracted and ends up getting hit by a semi in a morbidly comical fashion. Just like just like walking like across the street like enthralled by this man in a cape, and then just like poof, and I'm just like, I don't know why I'm so adversarial towards Nair here. But
you said
like,
that you're already sick of his snark that early on.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm just sick of his snark already. Like 2 paragraphs in or whatever we're at in this part of the story. So moving on. I expected him to then cut the figurative bullshit and break out the product. He had a duffel bag with him, but he instead disrobed, decaped, and degauntleted, revealing that he'd been naked the entire time beneath his armor, shamelessly, confidently setting them aside. He then opened his duffel bag and took out some plain clothes, which after a moment of savoring his public nudity, he put on. To me, while I was reading this part, specifically, with the guy's like spiel, and then like after knighting the guy, bequeathing his powers and suit to the other guy, he just drops all his stuff in public, completely nude, and just walks away. It felt very My Hero Academia, or even like something out of The Tick, like a parody or like more satirical superhero show sort of deal, like sort of scene. And at that point, I was like, I hope there's some actual like horror-based things in the next few pages of this story, because like this is coming off more of a comedy, or like a lighthearted superhero bequeathing sort of situation than something that I would read on Reddit Nosleep. Also, I think, and this is another comment that like sort of in that moment, I was like, I think the title of the story might be in reference that Nair is going to either fuck up being a superhero in the next hour, or just transfer their power to someone else, as opposed to my initial idea of what the title represented, which was that he had a limited amount of time with the superpowers. And it sucked for them because of I for some reason when I first read like the title, like I was a superhero for an hour and it was terrible experience. I thought it was like he only got the powers for an hour, like he had like a limit for how long he would have them for, and in that time it sucked because they were really like, it was horrible, it was horrifying and like horrible and sanity breaking and stuff. But no, it seems like it's and I was correct. It seems like he's just going to have these powers for like an hour, and then he's going to get rid of them, or have to. Yeah.
What I thought it was going to be, sorry for cutting you off, but it's hard to get a word in edgeways.
I apologize.
What I thought it was going to be is like the act of getting the powers is the horrifying thing. Like there's some like he runs into some weird monster that like shoots out a freaking tentacle into his chest, and it's like loading him up with the superpower or something, and like it like mutates his arms into like these weird like blades and shit, and it all like is excruciating and hurts, and he's a disgusting monster for an hour that he has to hide from all people around him because they'll just shoot him if they see him. I thought it'd be something like that,
God.
where it's
and then
actually horrifying. Like, that's why it's
and then like
for an hour.
Yeah, and sorry not to cut you off, but the terrible experience is like after that hour is up and he loses the powers because his arms have been mutated or something, and the powers go away. He no longer has his arms or legs. He's now just like a stump of a person.
Or the power goes away, but like his body stays that way. But he doesn't have like the super senses and super jumps and cloaking abilities or whatever. He's just a freak now.
Yeah,
and his body's weak, so he can like barely move. If he has like huge blades on his arms, he can't even like lift them anymore.
Or if say like the power has like replaced his arms with giant robotic arms and stuff like that, or like technoganic arms. Now he's just in excruciating pain because like he now has like he now feels like this phantom pain of where his arms used to be, where they were replaced by these like technoganic arms.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't feel with them, but he just has this phantom pain and the powers we're kind of we're nullifying the pain of like, you know, the amputations.
Yeah.
Until then. Yeah, I was also expecting some of that, like something terrible to happen, or how his powers to get like when he got the powers, like it sucked because he got these powers. Like not the powers are great, but then he had to get rid of them because it was a terrible and that was a terrible experience.
Yeah, it's equivalent to like a child getting a toy and then they get in trouble and they get the toy taken away.
Yeah, legit. Yeah,
like
that's how the story ended. Yeah, and I mean, again, like how he. I'll get to it a little bit later in my notes. It's like how he, like how the person like is like treats him or like punishes him before he relinquishes the power. Like that's kind of horrifying and terrible, but it was not to the degree I was expecting.
Maybe our minds are just a lot more fucked up than most people.
Probably, so or you know, we were yeah, or we were going into Reddit Nosleep expecting to be actually horrified and not like sort of have this comical story. But I will. Or Mike, did you have something you want to add?
Well, based on the title, I was expecting more of a temporary superpower thing, like super gum or a pill.
Yeah. Like some kind of like a patch he put on, and now he's got superpowers for an hour. But like, and then he fucks it up, or like, yeah, you laugh. Actually, no, I laugh at that. But that actually, there is actually a supervillain named it's like Snowfire or something. Fuck, what the? Yeah, it's like it's something ridiculous. But it's basically like his name is basically just like a slang for cocaine.
Oh, okay.
And his superpowers come from snorting cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was an actual like 80s or 90s like villain.
Snowflame is a drug-powered supervillain.
Yes,
Guardians.
Snowflame. Yeah, the new Guardians. Yeah,
him.
Right.
Wow.
I actually have. I think I actually have a copy of or an issue of New Guardians where like he is introduced, and then like I remember watching some comic reviews, I think from like Linkara or somebody online.
Yes.
Where they talk about Snowflame. And I think even like it's come up a couple times in like other like in some of the RPG podcasts I listen to when like they're playing like Base Raiders or other superhero like campaign games. Yeah, like the whole, because they deal with like super drugs, like super powered drugs and stuff like that.
Wow. One of his powers is cocaine touch.
Oh no! Wait, is like Midas touch? Like the thing just becomes cocaine?
Yeah, touching Snowflame was sufficient to give the Florinic man a contact high. So apparently, just touching him, you get high.
So he's a fucking poison frog.
A little bit.
Except you don't even have to lick him; you just have to touch him, and you get a contact high.
Yep. Snowflame's religion is cocaine worship. apparently.
Oh my god. Are you looking it up at like villain.wiki?
Yeah. On the DCfandom.com.
Oh my god, it was a DC character. Of course it was a DC character. So dark. You're sure you're not part of the DC universe?
Yeah. Imagine him in like a modern day spin-off of him where he's just like he looks like a normal like cocaine drug dealer dude.
If he's not in the next like Suicide Squad movie, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like
superhuman
man.
Strength, superhuman speed, and immunity to pain. So does everyone else when they snort cocaine. It's not
yeah. But apparently it's a superhero. He's apparently superpowered by it. So
anyways, we can move on from Snowflame.
Okay. Yeah, let's move away from Snowflame for a bit.
I remembered his name so perfectly. What the hell?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, because I knew it was snow and then like fire something.
Yeah.
Like it's such a because it's I think that's actually like a slang for cocaine.
Probably.
But anyway, I digress. Moving on to the to actually a theory I had so like again while I was reading the story, I was like, this is very lighthearted superhero and like kind of trying to like pull in some superhero horror, like deriving it from it. However, I came up with another theory this morning before we started, and I actually wrote it down and like jotted down the quote and stuff like that. So, approaching it, I felt a sudden surge of what I can honestly describe, as power. And upon bending down, I realized that the armor was actually shimmering, very faintly but undeniably. Not just the silver pieces, but the black leather as well. There was a lustrous sheen upon it all, a dazzling effect, like loot in a video game. And then later on in the story, there's a example of like when the superheroine first approaches, he sees what he thinks is a bird up in the sky, like coming directly at him, and it was only until like the image resolves that he realized it was a person coming at him. So a theory that kind of popped in here while I was when I read this through a second time. What if Nair is in a video game and doesn't know it? Like, what if
Free Guy or whatever?
Exactly. Like, what if the story actually isn't a spooky, and I'm doing in quotes, spooky superhero story, but is actually a trapped in the Matrix sort of situation, or like you said, Free Guy, where this NPC is given the powers of a PC, and then a moderator had to come in and is like, no, you can't have that.
Wow.
So it's like we got the existential like crisis situation or like, a potential for existential crisis. Like, what am I? Like, what is the world? Like, you're seeing the glitches in the Matrix is like a common term, or in the glitches in reality when you're starting to realize your entire existence is actually a virtual simulation.
Cool.
And I think that would make the story a lot better.
It'd be very unique. Well, I say unique, but it's straight the Matrix, but it's fine.
No, but that's actually a whole there's actually a whole Reddit thread, or Reddit thing like outside of Nosleep called Glitch in Reality, where it's like stories about people who have stories that kind of like that they're probably like most of them are fictionalized, but it's like stories of like the trying to like spook you into like, is your entire existence just a virtual like simulation, or like, because like there's that common conspiracy theory that like the universe is actually just a hologram, or that we're in some kind of simulation like the Matrix. Mm-hmm. It's sort of, and it's kind of like like with the whole like superhero bend and stuff. It kind of reminds me like what life is like for one of the people in the Saints Row 3 or 4 world, like where they're all in a simulation and like they're superpowered beings there because they've been encoded with that. So yeah, that's sort of the idea that popped in my head. Like, I think that would actually make the story a lot better, is if there was even a little bit more of a hint that this was actually like somebody gleaning into the glitches of reality and realizing that reality is just a video game.
That'd be a cool twist at the end.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah, well, for your actual quote, with the image resolved.
Yeah.
So he's actually using his super sight at that point, because he sees a single bird flying, but then he zooms in and the image resolves and he sees it's a person.
I thought it was
Yeah, so it's his HUD.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, so it's his HUD. He just clicked the zoom on his HUD of the game.
Pretty much. The way I saw it, I thought it was just like, what is that in the sky? Is it a bird? And then like as
Is it a plane?
Yeah, as she's falling closer and closer to Earth, it's like, oh no, it's a person. As she lands.
Yeah, no, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I legitimately like was expecting like the next thing that it would look like a bird. Well, maybe it was a plane coming directly at me. Oh no, it's a person. Blah, like you said. Mm-hmm. Like I was expecting it's a plane because the whole Superman thing.
Yes.
The popular Superman quote. But yeah, alas, we don't get any kind of like special ending at this one. It would be a nice. I think it would definitely help, but like that's my theory is that this is actually a video game and he doesn't know it.
I feel you went there. My shtick.
Hey man, you're dropping the ball. It's your fault.
Hey, it's not my fault you go before me. I didn't have a chance to get it out before you.
Did you actually have that in your notes?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, well I apologize. But moving on. And the quote starts with but the moment my hand came into contact with the fabric and metal, I felt an almost irresistible urge to put them on, to don the cowl and cape. And in brackets, there was no cowl. Then why did you say cowl other than for the humorous little exchange?
It's in ellipses.
It's like the story's like trying not to be scary.
Sorry, I said ellipses. It's in italics.
Is it in italics?
It really
Wait,
is.
hang on.
It's in italics. The armor is saying that line specifically to him.
Oh man, what? Give me a second.
It's like the ceremonial line that is said to the superheroes. Like, because maybe most of them do have a cowl, but this one doesn't. But regardless, that is the initiation line.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's the incantation.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was italics because I didn't have it didn't have it formatted for that from my quote.
You copied and pasted it elsewhere, didn't you?
Yeah, because it's in my notes.
Well, I mean, I read it on Reddit.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I like that actually. Yeah, that. But still, again, like the problem is like my problem still kind of stands. Like the story sort of self-destructs itself with these quips. Like I mean they're, and it's really weird for me because like I enjoyed the quips, but it's like this isn't scary. Like this is like self-defeating. It's scary, like any of the spookiness with all these quips and stuff like that. Like it's sort
this
of
one I don't have a problem
ruining
with.
it. And like part of me is with you on that, but part of me is like, then don't put this on Reddit Nosleep. It doesn't belong on Reddit Nosleep. Well, is my big takeaway. Spoilers is my big takeaway from my of all my notes. This story this probably should not be on Reddit Nosleep because it's not scary and it's not really reality.
Okay, well,
to a degree.
Regardless, in regards to the line you're saying with the cowl and being upset that he's saying that there's no cowl and why is it saying there's a cowl? One idea I had as to why there's no cowl, even though the armor is telling him to don the cape and cowl, is because it normally does have like a cowl and helmet, like the blue and gold lady that shows up. But the superhero that gives his armor away specifically doesn't give the helmet away. He keeps that, so when the poor schmuck puts his armor on, when he needs to be killed, his armor is either less powerful because there's no helmet, or because there's no helmet, the superhero that's coming in to get his armor back can just headshot him because there's nothing to protect his head.
Oh, so it's almost like the superhero that is giving these schmucks this so he can go on vacation. He's aware that he also has a limited amount of time without his powers, and he wants to get his powers back. But he's also like, he's aware that these people are going to be like, are probably going to get tagged by his companions. So he's setting them up for failure as much as he's setting himself up for failure.
Yeah, because if he gave them the helmet, then
it would be complete. Like he would have permanent power removal, right?
No, it's not a permanency thing. He's not fully powered and he's not fully protected, so the superheroes coming in to get his powers back can more easily defeat him because he's not wanting to necessarily create a supervillain or anything like that. He just wants a temporary reprieve from his powers,
from his duties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could take either or explanation. Like either one, like he doesn't like I think we're saying the same thing, but like from different angles. Like he doesn't want to create a villain while he's on vacation, but so maybe like either the cowl itself or like whatever the helm or whatever he's not giving the person would like seal it to being a permanent like transfer, or like you said, he's doing it so that the character's not, the person is not at 100% power, so that his allies can gank the or geek the mage first, geek the mage first, and then like do it much more easily than if like he was at full capacities. Yep. Yeah. No, I get that.
Like the armor itself, like it doesn't know that the helmet's not there, so it's just
kind of makes him sound like a dick though too. Like kind of makes us like
what he's doing.
I don't know. I get you. I just like because like he's it's the perfect sort of analog of like Superman's so great until you look behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. Like it's that kind of thing of like the guy is super just and like and great to like the public eye, but then like he's actually really just a douchebag.
Yeah, I mean, hell, this superhero might not even be that courageous and like awesome to the public. He might just be that douchebag superhero. It's just, but he's a superhero, so he has to do the job.
Yeah, exactly. Like he might be. Oh no, like to the public, he's got propaganda behind him. It's like, yes, I have fought this monster and this creature and thing from folklore and stuff like that. I've been at it for several hundred years. You've probably heard of me. It's like, no, we don't know what superheroes are in this in this setting. Apparently,
yeah. As far as I could tell, they weren't aware of superheroes at all, because otherwise he would have been like, Captain Silverman. Wow.
Yeah. Captain Slivercape.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, it also and that's one of the parts of like the story's trying to like, that's why it's sitting in Reddit Nosleep, is because it's trying to kind of play off. It's like, oh, I met a superhero today, but no one's gonna believe me because this is all supposed to be set in the real world, like in our world and stuff like that. But it feels like more like an alternate reality where superheroes are a thing, kind of.
They're a thing, but not.
But
well, yeah, I get what
they're under wraps, like to a degree, and like, because like, and they're kind of under wraps because like I would imagine if that superheroine was actually under some kind of like thing of like they need to keep superheroes a secret. No witnesses. Why would she let this guy survive?
Who's going to believe him?
You know, that's also a very valid point.
Yeah.
Like,
what's he going to do?
He's posting this on Reddit Nosleep. Yeah, on Nosleep of all places, where like it's supposed to be assumed that like while the comments and stuff like that are supposed to be like in universe for the most part, like reactions and stuff like that. Because I actually did look up the rules for Reddit Nosleep while I was reading this, because I was again kind of annoyed that it was on Reddit Nosleep. I'm not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. But like, I looked it up because like I wanted to know like what are the rules for it. So I'm actually gonna pull that up now. Assuming I can find it. Yeah. So the rules for Reddit Nosleep: posts must be complete horror stories. Stories must be plausible. Multiple stories in one post must be connected. Posts must be original stories. Titles must follow specific guidelines. And here's the gamer, you're gonna love this. Underneath, titles must follow specific guidelines. The guidelines are no too long did not read titles or titles which impersonate another subreddit. The only thing in parentheses or brackets should be the number or the part number of the story. Basically, it's saying no super long titles.
Wow. So if these like this one isn't that long, but we've had some long ones.
No,
they don't deem that as long.
right next to the rules I'm looking at on the main Reddit Nosleep page, we have this title: "When I was 5 years old, I got lost in the woods and had no memory of the incident. Period. Ever since, I've had PTSD and no one knows why." Period.
It's 2 entire sentences as a
Right next to me reading the guidelines of too long did not read titles.
Wow. So I guess a TLDR title is like a paragraph.
I suppose, yeah.
Man, that's getting close with 2 sentences.
Yeah. And then the rest of the guidelines are basically like series posts must follow specific guidelines, following all posting guidelines. Everything is true here, even if it's not. So, okay. Comments must contribute to discussion and then be respectful to one another. Those are the rules and guidelines of being on Reddit Nosleep. But yeah, so okay, I suppose like this is like trying to like from what I gathered from the guidelines, like Reddit Nosleep stories are supposed to be horrified or like horror stories. They're supposed to be relatively plausible, or at least like somewhat plausible. However, everything is true even if it's not. So okay, there's some. I could definitely see then why there's room for some like wishy-washiness of it. It's like you're supposed to be plausible, but everything that's said is true, even if it's not. So it's like, I guess that like some people are finding leeway in that. It's like, well, I'm writing this down because I just met a superhero. You've got to believe me, kind of thing. Like, and it was a terrible experience, sort of situation. And like, okay, that could be construed of like, because the way the story's written, he's following a plausible set of like he's following a plausible setup of like his own personal experience of like how you would plausibly react to this happening to you. I guess that's how to kind of get away with some of the more outlandish stuff that pops up in Reddit Nosleep, is like, as long as your reactions and stuff like that are like how you would probably react in a situation that is somewhat fantastical.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, again, the story, like,
I think it works, like, with the guidelines. It's not like it shouldn't be there. Like, rule wise, I get what you're saying, but rule wise, I don't think it's.
And I don't want to be. I don't want to be a rules lawyer because of that. Like, because I would also like to preface. I liked this story. I actually really enjoyed this story. I just didn't think it was a horror story. Or it was like, I don't think it went too. It didn't go horror enough for me, I think is my problem with the story. So I just wanted to preface that. Sorry, I'll continue on with the rest of my notes.
Attacking the story and like trying to get it taken down from Nosleep.
No, I'm not. I do want to
preface.
preface. I'm not trying to get taken down.
Not kosher for us to talk about this.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, like you do bring up a point. Like the way I've been talking, I feel like I don't want to say, like, I'm not actually like trying to gatekeep if that's the case. Like, if that's what it sounds like, that's not my intent. I'm just saying, it's like, to me, this story is good. It just didn't feel like a Reddit Nosleep story to me because of like how because of all the other Reddit Nosleep stories I've read. This one was like, just, it didn't fit the bill to me personally. So that's all I'm saying. And I'm sorry if that sounds gatekeepy. It was not the intent.
Okay. Good to have that clarified.
But I will move on from that. Or did you have something you were going to say? Sorry. Okay. Here it is. So yeah, I of course had many questions, but was unable to ask any of them because right after finishing her explanation, her eyes became two brilliant crimson sparks. And a second later, I was lying on one spot of the ground with my lower torso lying elsewhere. And then it goes into like some grisly details of like he can smell like the uncomfortably savory smell of his burning flesh and like the blood sizzling and boiling and stuff like that. I was like, there's the horror in this story. I was starting to wonder. Because like this is the horror part that you should focus on in a superhero story, is basically what The Boys does. Is like where it's graphic like situations of like how these superpowers affect like the real world, like reality. So like this part sort of saves the story in terms of like being a horror superhero story for me, is the actual implications of using the superpowers on other people and on other superheroes, and like them not just like, just taking a blast of laser like to their chest and them being fine. No, them actually being bisected and like all that grisliness to it.
So your entire
like
previous note is being countered with this note.
yes.
So that the whole thing that we talked about and went at lengths on.
Well, okay, I am a creature of duality. I like I said, I enjoyed this story, but for the most part, for most of the story, while I was reading it, I was like, "Why is this on Reddit Nosleep?" And like then we got to the actual horror of the encounter with the superheroine, and I was like, "There we go." Like that. Here's the actual like horror parts of the story. It's for me. It's still like not enough. I wanted more because I'm a prissy little Disney princess. Apparently, I must have more horror and graphicness. But there, at least the story didn't end with like, yeah, I must have gore. Yeah, exactly. Oh shit. But yeah, like I'm countering myself, yes, but that's just how I am. Like I try to find the good and the bad of this shit.
Fair.
So, next thing up on my roster here, the Hayflick limit and the potential cancerous cellular mutation simply does not apply to you. So I was like, what the fuck? What the heck is Hayflick limit? So I looked it up.
Is it actually a thing? I just assumed it was superhero,
yeah, the
like
no, it's an actual like biological thing.
Okay.
The Hayflick limit is the concept that helps to explain the mechanism behind cellular aging. The concept states that a normal human cell can only replicate and divide 40 to 60 times before it cannot divide anymore, and will break down by programmed cell death and apoptosis. Basically, it's why we age. That's what the Hayflick limit is. Is like that's why why we age is because our cells have a limited amount of dividing time. And you can thank the Embryo Project Encyclopedia for that explanation.
That's cool. Learned a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Being said, like when all that's mentioned, I kind of wish Nair was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah. Well, at that point, he was also like, yeah, I'll give it the power. Like he was like gasping and like from the pain of like losing his legs.
Learning
and
about
such.
the Hayflick limit is less important than getting my legs back.
Yeah, exactly. Also, one thing I guess some kudos I will give to the story is this bit here. Just before I could turn away, so this is after he's given the powers back and she's flown off. A fiery stream of laser shot down from the sky, striking my old lower half, turning the only evidence of the horrible event into a pile of ash. Without my powers and the fortitude of mind and being that they had brought, I felt a resurgence of the pain of my superheated bisection, and was forced to lie on the ground and crawl back to my house.
I missed that.
So
Fuck,
I actually
screwed up. That screws up one of my notes. Thank you.
Oh,
screws it up in a good way. Go ahead.
Okay. I liked so this part I actually really enjoyed was like now that he's depowered and doesn't have the mental fortitudes that the powers gave him and stuff like that, like doesn't have the super fortitudes and such. He then rolls the sand check as all the like the pain, the fresh memories of being bisected and like in his super form comes just like crashing back at him, and he has to roll sand check, roll an even bigger sand check because of the of the recollection of the grisly event that just happened to him that he just survived. And yeah, it's one of those parts of the story that like again brings in some of the brings in the horror stuff that I was hoping for, and kind of helps to bring the story back to like an actual like superhero horror thing, because the character after being depowered has to roll sand checks because of all the experience that he just witnessed and experienced. So, and then my final note here is give me a second because I want to make sure. I will say, so my last kind of actual thought here is there's no like quote or anything to it. It's just part of it was going to be like how I didn't think this was like really a Reddit Nosleep story, even though I really enjoyed it. However, I also want to the other thing I wanted to bring up at the end here is that this is like a superhero horror story, but it kind of goes too much into the zany part at times. And I can't believe I'm saying that. Like I'm going to counter myself, because over on our sister podcast, One Less Die, we literally just finished a campaign of superhero horror where this kind of bullshit happened, including the zany silliness, like blended in with the horror. So I was very conflicted in my opinion of the story, because I really enjoy it. Like I enjoyed the read, I enjoyed the encounter and situation, but then part of me was like, this didn't feel scary enough, I guess, or it didn't feel like it didn't have enough horror to it. At least not until the very end, and then we kind of got some of that. So yeah, I just felt at odds with this story. So that's my final actual thought. Just sort of to hammer that home. But Mikey, D stands for evil.
Yeah. So my first actual thought here is that I assumed the woman in this story is the wife of the guy that gave up his powers.
Yeah, I was thinking wife or daughter, honestly.
I thought it was just someone else on the same team, like another member of the Green Lantern Corps, basically.
I mean, it could be that, but I mean, that's what happens when we have 3 different opinions on the show.
And if using the powers makes you stick out like a sore thumb, why didn't the supervillains or evil entities notice? And then the thought process becomes, what if she is actually the villain?
Oh shit!
Oh, and she just got some like the super armor to give to some of her lackeys now.
Or this actually, here's the horror implication that Mikey is pulling in even more, and I love this. At least I think this is where you're going. She's tricked this she's tricked the schmuck that the good superhero guy has given so he can go on a vacation. She's tricked this guy into bequeathing the powers to her, renouncing the powers and giving her the outfit under the lie that she's going to return it to the superhero, when in fact she plans on taking it back to her lair, either keeping it safe or like keeping it like hidden or destroy it, so that guy, the guy on vacation, can no longer has the superpowers, and now there's a terrible imbalance between the superheroes and supervillains in this setting, or in this reality. So this guy just got duped into giving away his powers, and this superheroine is actually a supervillainess.
I could see it.
I really like that. If that was the implication to the story, if there's like a part 2 where it's like shit's going down or something like that, like the guy came back to me and like, where's my powers? I need them. Something's gone wrong. And it's like, I don't have them. What? And then like the guy just like gets really angry and like really like frustrated at Nair here, and like that's part 2 is basically like Nair realizing that he fucked up and gave his bequeathed the superpowers not back to the superhero that needs them, but to the supervillain. That would be fucking amazing if there is a part 2 for this.
And the next point that I have is, why does no one ever choose to give up the superpowers?
That could be part of her lie, because she just kills them, or like maybe there are no others. Maybe this is like the first time that this has happened.
But she straight up says,
and she's just,
no one ever chooses this, as if this is done. And her whole monologue to him is, "No, I've done this 100 times. He keeps doing this."
I mean, people can lie. People can put on a good con. if they want to get the powers
I
and stuff like
understand.
that.
In the headcanon of her
yeah.
being a supervillain and lying to him, of course, you're right. However, if you're taking the
Yes.
story at face value, believing everything that's being said, and she is a fellow hero, and she has to do this whenever this dude takes a vacation, and she's done it multiple times, and no one's ever given the powers back.
Yeah, if we're going on that, I mean, would you give the powers back?
Yes.
I may not.
I'd rather live than die.
That's assuming you don't think you can take her. Like, I mean, he's also one of the first people that's like just like once getting the powers, like going out and just like out in the open and stuff like that. Like all the other ones, it seems like she was insinuating that the others have some time before like to kind of get used to their powers before, and so like they get some kind of like maybe some false confidence into using their powers where they think they can actually take her on, and then they get fucking blasted.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, people are often the worst, so, and greedy when and don't want to give back something really cool. So, which makes you a good person, there, gamer.
Thanks. I literally just don't want to die. That's all that is. Good or bad.
That's fair.
If it's equivalent to if for some reason in the mail there was a freaking AK-47, I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this here? And then all of a sudden a soldier kicks down my door. It's like, give me the gun. It's like, okay. Like, yes, I have the same gun you do potentially, and we do the same damage potentially. So I don't know how to use this properly. You do. You win. Take it. You know, it's the same sort of thing.
That's their situation right now. But like some people who aren't you might have had like training in it, or might have done may have like had enough time to like practice with it and stuff like that. So and might be gun nuts or gun fondlers. They're going to defend themselves with the gun they have if somebody breaks down their door and says, "Give me the gun." And then they're going to get taken out because they actually don't. They have a false confidence because they think, like it's that sort of. That's what I figure is what's going on with the other people that have had this power given to them. Or it's all sham so that she can get the powers.
Yep.
Yeah. So I agree with you, gamer, but I don't.
What a surprise!
What a shock!
That never happened.
Yeah. Weird.
All right. And then my next actual thought here is that the title might be a lie.
Okay.
Because the title says superhero for an hour, but he's really only a superhero for about 45 minutes.
I knew someone. I figured one of us was going to be pedantic about like how long this guy had with these powers in conjunction.
Yeah.
Are you saying that his scuffle with that, like, because he says like, "Oh, I've only had them for like maybe 45 minutes," and then like, are you saying that entire encounter didn't take up another 15 minutes?
Potentially.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
It really depends on how long it takes to regenerate a lower torso.
Yeah. It did seem rather painstaking, but I mean, who knows? Like, it might have been really quick. It just hurt like a bitch. Times 10 or times 11.
That's the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. And gamer.
Let's see what I have left. And to be honest, I've often wondered what society would be like if people were, quote unquote, allowed to walk around wearing things like capes or top hats or long flowing scarves. I think it'd be a very fun, whimsical, possibly even progressive society. And to that, I'm like, people used to wear stuff like that. That's why we have things like that. So, like,
go to certain cities, and you'll go to certain like neighborhoods and cities, and you'll still see people wearing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I'm not awesome with times. Like back in the 18 whatevers or 15 whatevers,
it was more like the 20s, like 1920s.
Well, either way, people used to wear that stuff all the time. It's not like, but he's talking about it like it's never been done before, and it's this groundbreaking thing that. Like it would if it happened, but it happened before. It's not new.
Yeah, it happened before, and like it's still kind of happening to a degree. Just Yeah, I think what he's trying to say is like if it was like socially acceptable to like wear like these flamboyantly like anachronistic outfits or like stuff like that, or like top hats, and it's like because people do like eye roll when somebody's wearing a fedora and stuff like that, or a trilby.
I think people eye roll at that stuff
because what lots of people do that
at a fedora.
Like, yeah, because you get called out as a hipster. Well, yeah, I mean Solanum's. I'm not going to say he's a hipster, but he's kind of hipster. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, like that kind of stuff is seen as like you're being a hipster, you're an artsy fartsy type person. Like again, I say, go down to like downtown Toronto, and you'll probably see like some people like that and stuff in like some of the art districts or art neighborhoods, because there's a lot of artsy students and stuff like that try to like be outlandish and such.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I can kind of see it, but at the same time, it's like he is like he is also like I'm also I don't know why I'm arguing with you because I do agree with you in the statements. Like the shit still. I'm sorry, it's just a thing I do. It's like breathing. It's just so easy.
I wonder why people say that we're like an old married couple.
Yeah, I know.
So
weird.
Wait, no, we can't agree on that. Anyway, so can I move on? Okay, cool.
Yeah, go for it.
I
guess.
Thank you. I really need your improvement. Your improvement. Your
improvement. Yeah. You do need my improvement.
I can't think of the word. Approval. It was approve something. Yeah. Approval. That's the word. My mind is not 100% here right now, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the impulse to wear it persisted, so I started putting it all on to keep my clothes on. I kept my clothes on, to try to make the armor fit better because he'd been nude. I didn't want any of his sweaty residuals touching my own bare skin. I'm glad this is mentioned. Honestly, I was hoping it would. Even so, it's pretty gross, even with clothes on.
It's one of those things in superhero stuff. Is like, yeah, that's kind of gross. Like, because I've read some comics where like superpowers get like transition or get transferred over from with a suit and stuff like that. Like, and they never address the fact that like somebody was just wearing that completely naked and now you're wearing that same thing. Like, yeah, get dry cleaned at least. Like, take that to the dry cleaner or something. Maybe put some disinfectant inside there, or like wipe it down inside. I don't know, like. Ugh.
And then we kind of lightly talked about this. We'll talk about it again. How the heroine. We're not talking about a different cocaine-related enemy here, but
but superheroine is how you say that word.
Either way, she didn't seem too surprised that he decided to give the powers back, even though she just said in brackets through dialogue that no one ever gives the powers back. I would kind of expect it to be like, no one ever does this, but you could give the powers back and I'll leave you alone. And then if he's like, fine, take the powers back. And she's like, oh, really? I'm ready to kill you. All right. I guess. Sure. Thanks. Yeah. Like, and it gets
I wish there
at that point.
Yeah. I kind of wish there'd have been that like awkward, like, okay, cool. So, there's kind of that like there's part of that is slightly described because like the problem is we don't get the dialogue. We just get it's the show versus tell thing. Like he tells us like she left with the stuff with a not very sincere apology for the crater she left in his lawn. That can kind of be like that can kind of be like the summary of like that kind of awkward exchange. However, I wanted the actual dialogue of like, oh, okay, wow.
Because it's one thing if he apologized after he knew what he was doing from the get-go, but he was completely tricked this whole time. Like, there should be some sort of, guilt for doing this to this guy,
Yeah, it needs to be shown also. It doesn't need to not like it shouldn't have just been told. It should have been like had some dialogue of like of her like her actual apology should have been in dialogue.
Then this next part, I'm gonna read it, even though I kind of understand what it means now in hindsight. She then told me to take off the armor, which I did, too frightened to even care about hiding my nudity. Took the bundle from me in her arms. So I thought, first off, he said that he was wearing clothes underneath the armor, so why is he nude now? However, after thinking about it, his lowers were vaporized or cut in half, actually, so he would have had to grow a new one, and he doesn't grow a new lower with pants. I mean, he might, because magic, who knows?
Here's the thing, I was kind of guessing, because I also, for the first time I read this, I was like, did she just like, he regrew his legs, and not the armor that was on his legs, and not his pants, the pants section of the armor. But then I read it a second time. I was like, well, maybe just the super pants grow back as well, because superheroes. So either he's naked from the waist down. He was naked from the waist down when he like regrew his legs, or he was naked from the waist down, like no regular clothes underneath, except for but he had the super suit itself also regenerated with him.
I don't know,
because I imagine, I don't know either. Like it, because like
I'm gonna say no, because like he got cut in half, so his legs are over there with the super suit on them.
Yeah, and it doesn't specifically say that the suit also regenerated around his legs. So yeah, I'm going to go with my original gut feeling with like that he was basically naked from the waist down, because he had to regenerate. That makes it it actually kind of makes it a little bit more comical and awkward for super battles in this world, apparently, because like even if you get blasted into it and you're regenerating, like your super suit isn't growing, so your super suit is just getting more and more like destroyed around you because you're regenerating.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like it's sort of, it's again like playing on the like there's actually a comic that does that, except in the comic it's called Empowered, and it's basically this girl gets a super suit, but she gets more super powered and super powerful the more holes and more holes and cuts and basically the more skin is revealed from her like latex suit.
Fancy.
Yeah, it's a superhero parody. Well, it's a superhero parody series, so yeah,
that would be kind of funny though. How like if this fight happened with two actual superheroes, he gets his legs chopped off, he grows them back, but then like now with his legs are growing back and he's nude, he has to run over and like beat the shit out of her before she gets his super pants, because she could potentially use those, and he has to like knock her away from him and quickly put his super pants back on. And
he has to take his super pants off his dead super legs or his dead legs and put them on his fresh legs. Yeah, so I'm just imagining this guy like trying to put his pants on in the middle of like a cratered like battleground.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, not very scary.
So when she like jumped on him and like cut him in half and stuff, that wasn't like, it wasn't described super well to me, because I didn't really fully understand what was going on. I thought she like jumped on him and like the force of jumping on him on his legs like squished his legs out, not that he like got cut in half. Quote is like, just before I could turn away, a fiery stream of lasers shot down from the sky, striking my old lower half, turning the only evidence of the horrible event into a pile of ash. That is the point where I realized that his lower section was actually cut from him. Like, I believe it. Yeah,
really?
I must have misread it, because it did say it, but me just reading through it, I somehow missed it. So I don't know if that's a fault on me or a fault on the story. Probably me. You guys got it.
I mean, I got it, Mikey. Mikey's muted.
Cool.
Oh no.
We'll assume he got
it. Yeah, I got it.
So I think I just misread that.
So,
So it's probably on me and not on the story. So I'm just saying this to admit my own failure.
Padding.
This isn't padding. This is me admitting my failure.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it's still padding for the
fine.
audio. Yeah.
And then my last one.
Oh, okay. So it's not padding when you do it, but when I do it, it's padding. Okay, I see how it is. I see where the biases are. I see where the lines are drawn.
Yeah. And my last one, you canceled out, so we're fine. It's
Okay.
actually I didn't mention it.
Oh.
The one that you cancel out is me. I was just about to say, like, why do you have to crawl back into the house? Because a second ago it said that he was standing on his fresh legs, but you explained that after his powers went away, the pain came back, so he had to crawl. So
yeah, because he suddenly he rolled a sand check, failed. He went to a fugue position, and then after a moment, he slowly crawled back to his house in fear,
but
probably pissing himself.
The actual words of it seemed vague enough that I didn't even catch them. That being said, I didn't even catch him being cut in half. But I feel like it could have been explained a bit more, that just how the pain came back to him and it forced him back to his legs, so he had to crawl back, because it was just sort of glossed over in my opinion.
Fair.
And that's the end of my notes.
Okay. Then on to final thoughts. So, okay. Again, I'm going to reiterate for probably the third or fourth or quadrillionth time. I enjoyed the story. The writing has its quirks, but was fun. If sometimes mood breaking for me because of all the quips, I don't think I could. I don't think I can actually recommend this as a no-sleep spooky story. But before anybody jumps on me for gatekeeping, because I don't want that. That is not my intent. Because now I have that kind of that self-consciousness about that. I definitely would recommend this as a superhero story, maybe with some horror elements in it. Like if I'm trying to because again, we on our other podcast, One Less Die, we've talked at length about superhero horror. In fact, heck, we have an entire episode of My Hero Academia on this show, where I talk about My Hero Academia and how it could be horror if you just look in one direction. look in one of the other directions. Superhero fiction can be horrifying, and there should be horror in superhero fiction because of some of the things that superheroes do. If you just look at it the right way, it's horrifying and sanity blasting what they are doing and what they are doing to reality and people and things. And that's great. It's a different perspective on heroism. It becomes horrorism. So again, I would recommend this story as a superhero story with horror elements in it. While reading this, and maybe because of the bar that has been set for me for Reddit no sleep stories, I don't think I could recommend it as a Reddit no sleep story. If somebody was was asking me what's a good Reddit no sleep story, I would not recommend this one. That's all I'm trying to get across on that. But this is a cool story that I would love to see a part 2 where it's haha, that superheroine was tricked them and actually took the powers for themselves to keep it away from the other super guy. One thing actually I do want to bring up right now, I wish we had known what the superhero guy's name was and what the super gal's name was.
Yeah, because that's half of
that would have been nice.
What a superhero is their name.
Exactly. It's their iconography. They hint that the superhero guy kind of vaguely, in very vague terms, or at least from what I got, he's sort of like a Batman-ish character, but with mini boss from a video game, like pauldrons and armor on. Is sort of so he's sort of like a Batman-y kind of character, but with superhero, with actual superpowers and not just being a billionaire. I just love that line from the new Justice League movie. It's what's your superpower? I'm rich. As they're in a giant crawler.
He has super wealth.
Yeah, he's super wealthy. Yeah, that's his superpower. He's wealthy. But anyway, getting back to this. So yeah, I wish that's the one thing I kind of wish that the story had done was actually given us what these guys' names are, because I mean we've been referenced through this entire conversation. We've been talking to them, we've been mentioning them up and bringing them up as the super heroine or the super guy or superhero.
But we've had to give them names like Sliver Cape and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. Captain Sliver Cape is that's his name. That's as far as I know. That's as far as I'm concerned. That's his name. And I'm totally not going to steal that for my own horror superhero horror tabletop game. TM, 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 TM. But yeah, like, and so I loved the story. Like, I loved the story. Like, it was fun to read. It just didn't fit what is my expectations, I suppose, is what it is. So, that's my so I conditionally recommend it. So that's going to be mine. It's a partial recommendation. It's more of like a conditional recommendation. So, but Mikey, these stands for evil. Be more assertive than I am in my recommendation.
Okay. So he gets his superpowers, and the old guy mentions his fantastical exploits and feats, many featuring creatures from common folklore.
Yeah.
So I feel the story would have been better if we'd gotten some
Examples?
creature attack him and then being saved by the superheroine.
Oh.
And then him just noping out, being like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, like have something like ruin his life. Like he has like personal like stuff happen to him at the end by the superheroine who's just trying to get the powers back. But like again, this is like, and I know like the rules of Red Nosleep is like keep it plausible and stuff like that. It's like, well, if you're gonna go with the keep it plausible thing of like your reaction to stuff, and you're dealing with superheroes already, fucking collateral damage it up for the horror element of it. Like your house gets like ripped into by some horrible like monster. That needs to be put down by the supposed companion. I'm still on the fence. It's like, no, we did see the villain or the monster that this guy fights with. She was just lying about being a superhero to the guy. But yeah, like have some more collateral damage, I think, is for when you're dealing with like superhero horror. Because like it's definitely, when it comes to superhero horror, you can do psychological, like you can do it's geared toward psychological horror, which is some of the stuff we got in here. Like again, like his sanity blasting from like being bisected and stuff like that, and like the implications of it and such. But then there's also the visceral stuff that you really get into, which is like again collateral damage, him being sliced in half is like physically, and like all that kind of stuff. So like his physical trauma as well as his mental traumas from this experience, but like amp those up.
Yeah, and then it's fallen into this before where as an action pasta, it's enjoyable.
Yeah,
like it's like The Boys almost.
Yeah,
with the lasering and the just
graphic details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then as a creepypasta, there wasn't much of a creepy factor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just sort of parroting what you're saying. But I'm overall only going to give this a partial.
Yeah. Okay. Then next up is Gamer.
For me, again, like you guys have also said, it's not exactly the scariest. It has the potential to be actually a scary Reddit Nosleep creepypasta story, because like we brought up multiple ways that this could be more horrifying, whether it's his superpower itself turns him into a monster, or just the shit he has to go through to get the superpowers for an hour is horrifying. Like if it's some weird mind-based thing that he has to go through, like some sand-inducing shit, or speak to all these eldritch horrors from beyond time and space, or whatever. There's a lot of ways that this could be done in a more horrific fashion. And I don't mean gore porn. I mean psychological, or however you want to do it. Doesn't have to be just gore. But it doesn't do that. It stays pretty lighthearted, as everyone's been saying. The only quote-unquote horrific part is the being sliced in half, but it's even downplayed to the point that I've somehow fucking missed it because I'm an idiot, but that's fine. I've admitted, I've accepted that.
It's fine.
That being said, all in all, it was all right the way it went. The constant dashes in and out of the quippiness was kind of distracting. The best I can say is it's the idea behind it. I would I'd recommend the idea behind it, like doing a superhero based on this just didn't hit me the way I was wanting it to. That may have been because before I even read it, just from reading the long ass title that tells me so much about the story that I can do this. Looking at you, read it, Nosleep. Because it gives me so much information up front. Before I even read the first word, I was already putting ideas together in my mind of what I wanted this story to be. And it didn't do that.
Yeah.
So for the execution itself, I can't really recommend it. But the concept behind it and the potential of doing horrific stuff with superheroes, I like. And that part I recommend. So I guess if you combine those both, it's a partial, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like we're all like kind of in a liminal space between like it was it was enjoyable, but it didn't reach its goal, it seemingly didn't reach its goal, which was like superhero horror.
Yeah, and if it was trying to be more comedic, it wasn't really funny either. It was it was what it was, you know?
Yeah, it was more of like a weird story. Yeah, it's weird. It comes off to me like from somebody who reads like a lot of like these like the pulps and stuff like that, and or like knows a bit more about the pulp stuff. It comes off as a weird story, as a weird fiction.
It's not a horror story, and it's not a parody horror story. It's somewhere in between, you know? Like it's trying to be both, sort of.
Yeah. I think that's why we're all like sort of like stuck here in the middle. Just like it's like cuz like it's like like we've been saying, it's like it's good, but it's not what it's trying. It's not good at what it's trying to do.
In our opinions, of course.
Seemingly, anyway. Yeah, exactly. These are our opinions. Like unless like the author like comes forth and like say like this is actually how I intended. Like you guys are completely off. It's like all right, then fair enough. But yeah. But okay, so yeah, 3 partial recommendations. Like
I'll find on a note
in that weird space of like we liked it but we didn't like it for certain reasons. Like I feel like that is kind of like I'm not crazy, like I'm not like being selfish here, like that is the overall like view from all 3 of us is like we liked it but there's things that we didn't like about it.
I wanted to like it, but the execution of what I got, it didn't really do much for me.
Okay, so you slightly different from at least me. So okay. Okay, so yeah, partial recommendations all around. So a good try, like, but yeah. And if you like what you heard, or if you didn't from us, you can leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're all on Twitter, so you can talk to us there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at The Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end because his name is very long. Much like how Reddit's No Sleep Stories apparently should not be. And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky cryptids, Reddit No Sleepers. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigamortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, the odd extra content. And to our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to the listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you guys immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without your stories that you write and post and share online, we wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. Like, we wouldn't have just spent like almost 2 hours talking about how this story could be a really cool, how we liked it and yet we didn't like it at the same time. Like how we were so we wouldn't have this conflicting feeling in our minds about the story. Thank you. But no, legitimately, thank you because like that's what the whole point of the show is to read a creepy story and see what we feel about it and see what we think about it. So until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. These stands for evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.
God damn it.
Ass.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the situational awareness button is. By the way, yeah, Mikey, that is actually something in the Bad Ben video game. Is like there's a button called the situational awareness button, and whenever you press it, Nigel just swears.
Yes. It's also for picking stuff up, but if there's nothing to pick up, he just swears.
Yeah. Fuck. Ass. God damn it. God damn it.
Yeah.
Why is this so funny to us? Why are we so dumb?
What's worse is I've seen that. I love how we're still talking about this. I've seen that Game Grumps episode maybe 10, maybe 15 times, and it still makes me laugh just because of how much they enjoy it. It rubs off on me.
Have you watched the Markiplier one too?
Oh, I didn't know he did it.
Markiplier did one a couple. He did one in October. And yeah, he's a little bit less like he's like, well now, like it's his like kind of like mellowness but he's like smiling the whole time.
Okay. I'll have to see that.
Ass indeed. Or like he starts like asking
deadpan?
yeah, but then he starts like asking questions like and hoping that like the situational awareness button will like will answer in like a in a appropriate response like ass fuck. It's like, man, I'd really like to be blasted in the ass.
Nice.
Okay, this is all getting cut out.